La Copine restaurant was known for its impeccable service, and it was loved by everyone in the city. Everyone wanted to host their event and dine there, so they were always choked up with orders and reservations. As a culture, for anyone to have a good time in La Copine, reservations must be made before that time, because of their busy schedule. On this fateful day, Jumatech Enterprise, one of the biggest fashion companies in the city, made reservations to host a franchise for their next design in the form of a business meeting over dinner at the restaurant. Everyone at the restaurant was excited and looked forward to the day they would serve popular models, designers, and investors in the fashion industry. However, on the day of the event, a few hours before the time, Barron Trump came to La Copine with his reservation to host a reunion gathering with his friends from college. However, the restaurant declined his request, stating it was booked and packed for the evening. What happened next left everyone in shock. Tucked away in the heart of the city, La Copine was not just a restaurant. It was an experience, a lifestyle, and a quiet luxury that earned its place as the standard for all diners in California. Compared to other restaurants in the city, there were no loud advertisements and flashy signs to beckon customers to enter. With the soft glow of the entrance and warm light through the tall windows, everyone could tell even from a distance that La Copine was made from perfection. Customers who had been there and tasted their impeccability said in their reviews that when they were in there, time seemed to slow down. Every detail of the restaurant was made with a conscious choice of their customers' interest. The lighting was designed to flatter. It was neither too dim nor harsh, casting soft shadows that gave off a pleasing aesthetic. La Copine wasn't known for rushing its customers. The staff never harshly asked their customers for their reservation code because they were trained to be polite and welcoming. Every table at the restaurant was properly managed and kept in order. There were no special or abandoned tables with little attention or forgotten seats. At La Copine, every customer was treated like a king. Whether your order was just a bottle of water or a glass of wine, they would still offer the best service with heightened courtesy. That was the legacy the restaurant carried and stood for all the years. Their music taste was another thing to talk about. Imagine having a hard day and stopping at La Copine restaurant for the most refreshing and soothing music as you sip a bottle of fresh wine. The restaurant always gave off a sound that made people want to just live and forget their worries and fears for the moment. The restaurant also had a private suite for people who loved their alone time away, and for others who wanted to go about their business away from the prying eyes of other people. It was perfect for couples' date nights. Service at the restaurant was an art practiced, but never performed as such. There was no need for scripted, exaggerated greetings or gestures because every worker at La Copine went about their duties excitedly. It was almost as if they couldn't wait to welcome their customers, make assorted dishes, receive an order, record the bills, and open the door for the people leaving the restaurant. They always knew when to approach and when to step back, when to suggest, and when to simply let a moment unfold by itself. They operated with a kind of ease, as if they were one with the restaurant. A glass was never left empty for too long, yet no one felt watched. Dishes arrived at the perfect time, and orders were never delayed. Meals were served with the best arrangement and precision, leaving customers speechless. There were no forced smiles, only genuine attentiveness. The warmth at La Copine made it feel almost like home, and one could stay there forever. Services are rendered with an understanding that dining was more than just eating. It was an experience meant to be felt. As for the food at La Copine restaurant, it will be impossible to categorize their cuisine in just one word. It was not just French meals that were brought to America. It was not simply European either. It was whatever it needed to be, whatever the season called for, whatever the customer wanted, the customer got. That was the policy the restaurant ran with that made everyone love it. You could have almost any food at La Copine with the perfect taste. The menu was familiar, yet unexpected, a careful blend of comfort and curiosity. Sorting for a meal needed a higher level of willpower because the mouth-watering dishes on the menu were ever ready to sway you from what you had intended to get. A simple roasted chicken at La Copine wasn't just roasted. It was brined for hours and crisped to golden perfection, yet tender, resting in its flavor and savor, subtle and juicy. A bowl of pasta was not just pasta. It was handmade and brewed with sauce that was adequate to make the eater pause after the first bite, indicating that it was indeed special. No restaurant can be properly addressed without knowing its jolly good wine. La Copine was widely known to serve the best wine. Each bottle had a reason for being there. Each glass was an invitation to enhance, rather than overwhelm. Wine was poured with care and love. The first sip was always meant to be savored, allowed to circulate and settle in the mouth of its taster. A glass of wine was likely the major part of the meal and couldn't be done away with. Parents, lovers, children, friends, teenagers, and solo diners looked forward to being at La Copine. They often ate, took pictures, and created the best memories. Everyone in the city loved having a good time at La Copine. Walking out of La Copine, there was never a feeling of regret, excess, or heaviness, only satisfaction and a memory of doing something worth it, and always the certainty of returning. However, that was not Barron Trump's experience, as he was denied service at this lovely restaurant on that unfaithful day. La Copine restaurant usually operated based on reservations because of its busy schedules. Jumatech Enterprise knew that, and had made their reservation, booking the entire restaurant for a business meeting dinner with their models, designers, and investors. Or so we thought. Barron Trump was among the many people who enjoyed a good time at La Copine restaurant. Coincidentally, he came to La Copine on the same day to have a reunion gathering with his college friends. The night in California was crisp that evening, carrying the sweet aroma of street food and city life. It was the weekend and the street was bustling with people heading to dinners, theaters, and night bars. Jumatech Enterprise was already having their dinner event when Barron Trump stepped out of his car, adjusting the cuff of his navy blue suit. He wasn't known for having flashy styles or heavy security. Despite being the youngest son of a renowned business tycoon, he preferred having an understated style that suited his tall, lean frame. Barron had been looking forward to this night for weeks and wanted to have it at no other place but La Copine. He had told all his friends about this great restaurant, and they anticipated having the best time of their lives while catching up over the lost years. For the first time since they graduated from college, he was reuniting with his closest friends, a tight friendship group that had survived the chaos of university life together. It had been impossible to reconnect all this while, because some had careers to pursue, others moved away, and their schedules rarely aligned. They all came from different backgrounds, some from wealth, and others from small and medium means, but their bond had been forged through a love that surpassed status and influence. However, as they approached the restaurant all smiles and chattering, a hostess came to address them over at the entrance. "Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation for tonight under Jumatech Enterprise?" "I believe I do, but that won't be under the said name." Almost too quickly, the hostess scanned the list as if she already knew they were not guests on her list. "I'm sorry, sir, but we won't be able to accommodate you tonight," she said. Barron raised an eyebrow with a confused look. "Excuse me?" She cleared her throat politely and said, "Another party has fully booked the entire restaurant for a private event." From behind her, a well-dressed manager with a stiff posture gave a slight nod, signifying her to stand firm. Barron glanced over at her. He could see the people hosting the event, but there were other people not attending the event in the restaurant, so why was he being told the restaurant was entirely unavailable? His friends noticed that something was wrong and came over to him. "That's strange," Barron protested. "Other people who are not attending the event are seated there, and I made reservations, but nothing indicated that the restaurant would be fully booked this evening." The hostess hesitated. "Yes, but the private organization had requested at the last minute that the restaurant remain exclusive to their guests for the entire evening because of confidential information that would be discussed over dinner. If you do not mind, you can join the waiting line and return by 10 p.m. when the meeting is over," the hostess concludes politely. Barron's expression didn't change, and he was certainly not pleased with the situation, so he asked, "And who is this private organization that gets to make me wait?" The hostess glanced over at her manager again as if to seek permission to answer. Finally, she said in a low tone, "It is Mr. Phillips' company, one of the biggest fashion brands in the city." The coincidence was too perfect. Barron exhaled and slowly, then glanced back at his friends. The girls had already recorded the situation and posted on their Instagram stories. "I'm so sorry, guys, but we would have to use another location." With that, he turned and walked to his car, disappearing into the night. Barron calculated his experience throughout his drive to another restaurant. He replayed the moment repeatedly in his mind. La Copine's refusal, the well-timed excuse, the nervous glance between the hostess and her manager, the so-called private meeting, and everything else was just getting on his nerves. He wasn't angry, but nothing seemed to cool the storm brewing inside him. At this moment, he no longer felt like joining the party and called his friends to let them know he would cancel. Considering what happened at the restaurant, they took the cancellation pretty well. They knew better than anyone that Barron had his pride hurt at the restaurant that evening. The rest of Barron's friends had to go off without him. Just some moments ago, they were laughing and excited for their long overdue reunion. "What's so special about the restaurant anyway?" Bobby asked, irritated. "They're probably just acting all high and mighty because you all give them the accolades they don't deserve." Another friend chipped in. Now, the group's mood was off, and everyone felt shady. They called it a night and went to their respective homes. On the day that Barron got stood up at the restaurant, one of his female friends had casually taken a video and posted it on her story. Unfortunately, they woke up the next day to the video going viral and bumping with so many reactions and backlash from the internet. It made the internet headline, and within 2 hours, it had millions of views. By midnight, it was trending #1 on Twitter, and news outlets picked it up the next day. CNN, the New York Times, and the Daily, everyone was talking about it. Supporters of the restaurant argued that private businesses had the right to host private meetings, and that the restaurant had nothing personal against Barron Trump, while critics called it blatant discrimination. To make matters worse, a journalist made his findings and uncovered some interesting details, stating that La Copine restaurant manager had personally approved last-minute prevent event booking less than an hour before Barron arrived. In other words, it was a deliberate move. So now the truth to uncover was what La Copine had against Barron Trump to hinder him from dining at their restaurant. After the viral clip, La Copine's social media was flooded with comments asking if everything they were made to believe about the restaurant was fake and they were far from hospitable. "So, you reserve the right to refuse service, but only to specific people, right?" "Noted," someone wrote. "Shameful. I was a regular, but I won't return," another wrote. Booked the entire restaurant at the last minute, which seemed like a plan to me, another commented. By noon, their Google reviews had gone from 5.0 stars to 3.0. Even a prominent celebrity commented that food is important, but so is integrity. Count me out of La Copine. All this while, La Copine had been silent concerning all the throwbacks they received on social media, which angered the public even more. Everyone felt La Copine felt too important to address the issue and clear the air. They blamed themselves for giving so much recognition to the restaurant. However, that afternoon, the La Copine manager decided to take things into his own hands by going live online to address the issue without the restaurant management's consent. He said smoothly, "We have the right to choose how we operate at La Copine. If certain individuals do not align with our standards and values, we are not obligated to serve them." He then stated that what if Barron Trump's last name was the reason for the denial? He said it before he even realized what he had said. To him, his speech was meant to sound defiant, but instead it backfired in a way he had never expected. Now the media was even more interested in the case, and more headlines were floating around within minutes. One read that La Copine's manager says the restaurant is not obligated to serve certain individuals, and another read that La Copine's restaurant is holding beef against Barron Trump's father. The statement Mr. Collins, also known as La Copine's manager, had made about Barron's father was duly investigated. It was later revealed that 6 months earlier, Mr. Collins had set up a meeting with Barron's father in the restaurant's private suite. "Mr. Trump," he began, forcing a charming smile, "La Copine has been a landmark for fine dining for years, and we are ready to expand beyond this city and country. We are launching a new project, La Copine International, a luxury dining experience in London, Paris, and Dubai, and we need investors that hold power so that this would not be a flop." Trump remained silent, waiting patiently. Collins continued, "Your name commands respect and carries influence. Your real estate empire is legendary. If you were to embark on this venture discreetly, it would bring prestige and a mutually beneficial partnership between us." He leaned back, thoroughly pleased with himself, sipping his wine as if the deal was already done as he awaited Trump's response. However, Trump didn't move, and after a long pause, he nonchalantly spoke, "Not interested." Collins's expression flattened. "Excuse me? How can you not be interested in this deal?" Trump shrugged. "I don't invest in businesses that rely on politics to survive. Your plan is good, but your approach is wrong. Moreover, you're not the head of La Copine. Why are you the only one holding a meeting with me? Where is your CEO? And your expansion plan looks like a vanity project, not a profitable venture." Collins's chest tightened. What was he thinking trying to make a deal with Trump? It was very typical of him to respond this way. "Sir," he said, "well, this is disappointing, but I appreciate the time you took to listen to my project idea. I thought you would understand, but I was wrong. I will send your feedback to the boards." With that, he stood up, left the suite, and returned to his office, burning with rage. Back in his office, Collins' face burned with humiliation. It wasn't just the rejection that angered him, it was the insults that followed along with it, and the public dismissal of his ambitions, vision, and ego. He had this idea for the longest time now, and he planned to get powerful investors to back him up so that he could present the idea at the next board meeting. No one knew he was working alone for now, but Mr. Trump could see through him, and he hated it. Since then, Collins had built a silent resentment for the Trump family. On the day of Barron's reunion with his friends, Collins had gone through the list of reservations for the evening and saw Barron's name. He saw it as a chance to humiliate him, like his father had humiliated him. He immediately called the staff on duty and asked her to declare a full booking for the evening, saying she should allow everyone who already had a reservation except Barron Trump. He had no reason to deny Barron's service, at least not any he could legally justify. However, it didn't seem to matter. He made sure that Barron Trump wasn't getting a seat that evening. It wasn't about business, it wasn't even politics. It was personal. It was also a mistake he lived to regret because all this was investigated by the media and brought to the limelight. Now Collins was in distress. He feared for the worst. The boards were calling for a meeting, and he knew what that meant. Everyone was against him at this point. The only person who could save him was Barron, who was involved in the whole situation in the first place, but he wasn't saying anything. Collins needed Barron's response on this issue like never before. He sent him so many emails, but none were opened or responded to. Other investors who had accepted his project idea were now pulling off their funding and backing out of the investment, saying they couldn't continue. Collins was devastated. Meanwhile, Barron sat in his penthouse apartment, scrolling through his phone. He hadn't made a public statement because he felt no need to. The internet was already tearing La Copine apart. He didn't want to add to that. He was calm about the whole situation until he heard the news stating that he was denied service because the manager held a grudge with his father over a lost deal. He called his father to confirm the news, and after finding out this was true, he finally decided to take action. He thought of the best way to handle La Copine restaurant. Suddenly, an idea formed in his mind, a response that would be smarter, sharper, and more devastating than just a media statement. I think it's time to show Collins what real business looks like. By the time the backlash on La Copine had peaked, Barron had already set his plan. He didn't just want revenge, he wanted control. He planned to find the owner of La Copine, make an offer they couldn't refuse, and let Collins learn the hard way to play the game. Luckily for Barron, he secured a meeting with La Copine's real owner. The offer was simple. The restaurant was going through a scandal that had greatly affected its sales, all because of its manager. He was involved in the case but was on the favorable side. La Copine restaurant would crash if drastic measures were not taken, and that's where Barron comes in. He offered to buy the restaurant while maintaining a partnership with the CEO. Also, the manager, Mr. Collins, has to be put away from the restaurant with a fine of $1 million for tarnishing the restaurant's image and almost bringing it to ruin. The CEO accepted the offer gracefully. He knew that Barron was the only person who could save the name of his restaurant at the moment, and he was willing to let go of it for that to happen. The next day, Barron Trump was announced as the new CEO of La Copine restaurant on the internet. Everyone was surprised, as no one expected him to make that move, but they also applauded him, saying what he did was smart work. On the other hand, Mr. Collins lost his job, learned the hard way, and never pulled such a stunt again. What do you think about Barron's approach in handling the situation? Would he be able to restore La Copine to its former glory? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this video was inspiring, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, click the links on your screen for more insightful videos. You can also tap the bell icon to get a notification for new posts. See you next time.